Been a few years since you were behind the controls of a rocket like this, huh? But I know you didn't forget how to race.
Hello and welcome back to VGC with this brand new gameplay footage of Star Wars Galactic Racer. This is footage from the single player portion of the game that I captured on PlayStation 5 at a recent event. Now this is going to focus on the main kind of narrative element that you're going to go through when you're playing Star Wars Galactic Racer. Elsewhere on the channel we have footage of pod racing which you can check out. That lovely chap is Kestar Bull. He's your main rival in the single player portion. Essentially you are a mysterious racer who has joined this Galactic Race League to get some nondescript revenge against Kestar Bull. And the best way to do that is to whip around the various planets of the galaxy as fast as you possibly can. So this one is set on Jakku from the sequel trilogy, everyone's favorite trilogy. And as you can see here, you're racing through crashed Star Destroyers. It's set in the sequel trilogy, this game is. It's post the fall of the Galactic Empire. So you are seeing the galaxy after the fall of the Empire, and thus the characters that you're racing against have been impacted by that. One of the characters you're racing against is a former TIE pilot, for example. There is a lot of references to the original trilogy in the game, however it is set just after that. And look, this is a Star Wars Burnout game. That is the most exciting thing for me. It is Star Wars Burnout with maybe a little bit of Blur attached to that. If you remember Blur, the racing game from back in the day, or Split Second even, you have abilities that you can use to make your craft faster or to disable your rival racers. As you can see right there, it has the burnout camera from when you shunt into an enemy and they go flying into a wall. I thought the handling was incredibly smooth, incredibly responsive, especially considering the speeds you're going at and the fact that the racetrack itself is not the most obvious or clear in terms of where you should go. So if there's a moment where you have to do an incredibly sharp turn, you are able to do that. So you can see here, this blue meter is one of my boosts. Once you charge that up, you can activate it and you see the bar going up and up and up. When it gets into that final little section and goes red, it will overcharge your jet, and if you let it go up to the entire length of that bar fully red and it explodes, you will crash out.
What?
You slowed me down on the straight!
When?
10 years racing! I've never seen anything so dangerous!
You crashed into me.
If they weren't holding me back right now, I'd have you frozen in carbonite! Either you've never piloted a repulsor craft, or you're intentionally endangering lives. Which is it?
Wasn't that exceptional? Can't you feel the passion? This is high racing, my friends. The dream.
It's irresponsible to let this anywhere near a racetrack. Start doing your job, or I'll do it for you.
Ah, don't worry. He forgets these things as quickly as he starts them.
Now for a racing game, there is a fair amount of narrative from what I've seen.
Welcome to our first stop on the Galactic League tour, Jakku. You only got one entry token, and it's forfeit if you wreck out.
So as I just mentioned, they're the entry tokens. This is a bit of a roguelike. Now you enter the tournament with your entry token, and you'll see later on there's basically 2 tracks that you can go down where you will have to complete events in order to progress to the next event, the next event, the next event, and eventually you will move to a different planet. However, if you crash out 3 times in a race, or you don't complete the objective of that race, you will lose your entry token and you have to start again. The idea being that as you continue through your run, for lack of a better word, you get rewarded per race. So at the end of this race, say I came third and I get a certain amount of credits and an upgrade to my ship, I can use that in the next race, and that continues throughout my entire run. When I eventually lose this run and have to start again, I will still have most of those upgrades. So it's about kind of making your craft better every time you go into a new Galactic tournament. I got pretty far in the first Galactic tournament on my first try without upgrading my ship at all, but it got clear towards the end of that first tournament that I really should have already lost and went back and upgraded and came back to try it again. So it's all about playing the same races kind of over and over again and dialing in your memory of the maps, your memory of the abilities, when's best to use your boosts, and those kind of minute details that once you dial them in, you will find it extremely easy. And the whole single player portion kind of serves as a tee up to when you eventually start playing the multiplayer modes. I think the game looks great. It visits a lot of different planets, so you get a lot of different color palettes, and obviously the music's excellent because it's Star Wars. One of the people that worked on the music for this game also worked on the Jedi games, the Respawn titles, so excellent music all around, and you know, Star Wars, so it's perhaps the greatest score in any film ever, so it translates to a game pretty well.
I see you up there.
So I've just crashed there. You see I have 3 kind of lives. Once you crash 3 times like that, you will be out of the race and, as I mentioned, lose your token. So I came third there, and for that I got some rewards, not the prime rewards. I got the credits and the upgrade pack, which means that I can either spend those credits in the shop or I can just save them for the next time that I win a race or come third or whatever and add to my credit pile. So you see here you've got the map. Next up I've got another race, and beyond that you've got like your eliminators or your one-on-ones, or there's some story points where it'll be a question mark and it'll be like, you don't know what happens here. It could be a good thing or a bad thing, and you just kind of watch the cutscene play out.
Let's get this over with.
Now this race and this corner I saw claim so many lives at the preview event, it's unbelievable. I think people aren't prepared for just how fast the game feels, and I mentioned this in the Pod Racer gameplay, which you can also see on the YouTube channel right now. These crafts feel fast, the Pod Racers feel much faster, but even these crafts, which are meant to be more kind of land speeder or speeder bike or skimmers, they're still incredibly fast, much faster than you'd maybe expect from a traditional racing game. But I think it translates the sense of speed that something from a fantasy sci-fi realm should. I also think the ships look really cool. They have that great kind of that great kind of original trilogy era design. They're very mechanical, they're very exposed metalwork. You can complain about a lot of things in the sequels, and I understand that, but the way they updated and translated the original trilogy visual language, I think, is sublime, and I think this game does it incredibly well as well. Other characters that are featured in the story mode will pop up in little windows just like that, inserted into your race. This typically happens when you've just made one of them crash. You don't kill them when you make them crash, obviously, though it seems like they should absolutely die when they crash at that speed. But that will kind of further the storylines. There will be references to things that happen kind of in between races where you're chatting to them. They will give you a little bit of backstory about who they are. I just think it adds a bit of atmosphere to what could have been a pretty sterile, let's just do the races over and over again situation. I actually think the narrative stuff in the game is pretty over the top for what I was kind of expecting to just be a bit of an arcade racer, and I think that's great. I think more story modes in racing games are more than welcomed.
We are so proud. Because the racers falling behind are gonna get slowly knocked right out of the race. You must finish in the top 3 positions. Otherwise, you'll lose a league token.
So this is an eliminator. This, as I just explained, you have to be above a certain ranking in the race position before the timer runs out, or you'll be eliminated.
It's my race to lose, people.
So what I'm using there is an upgrade called Surge, where every time I go past someone that's ahead of me in the race, it gets refilled. So it's essentially a boost that you can auto refill if you pass someone. So if you trigger that at the start of the race and you're in 12th position, you get 11 free refills of it to fly to the very front of the pack and crash headlong into the wall like I just did there. So the abilities are pretty overpowered. They're certainly useful. I feel like in some racing games you get abilities and you're like, yeah, maybe I'll use this like side shun, or maybe I'll use this kind of bubble to protect myself. But throughout the races that I did in the single player, especially as it got harder, I found these abilities extremely useful, and I feel like some will emerge as fan favorites as more people get their hands on the game.
Wait, I'm not supposed to lose.
You see there, just about exploded, crashed into the wall, didn't quite die. You have that danger indicator if you take a hard hit, but it doesn't trigger an actual explosion. If you get hit again while you have that indicator, you're almost certain to explode. That's Star Wars Galactic Racer. I think this game is going to be fantastic. This is the second time I've got to play it, and I really enjoyed every time playing it. I look forward to really digging into the single player mode a bit more, having seen the first couple of worlds. I think it does something very different for a single player experience in a racing game, and I hope that the number of planets are pretty substantial, and I hope that as the single player continues, we maybe get to see some more legacy characters that are referenced earlier in the game. So yes, very happy with what I've played of Star Wars Galactic Racer. Obviously, this is just one half of the experience. The pod racing experience, which I think a lot of people are very keen to see, is also in the game, and you can see footage of it on VGC. It got published at the same time as this video, so just head to our YouTube channel and you can watch that. But until then, I'll let you watch the end of this race. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing to VGC, and we'll see you next time.